Nobody really noticed when Lily stopped talking. It happened so gradually that by the time she became completely silent, most people at Riverside High had already forgotten she existed. She wasn't the type of quiet that made people curious. She was the type of invisible that made people look right through her. Every morning, Lily walked through the school gates with her head down, earbuds in her ears even though no music was playing. She had learned that earbuds were like an invisible shield. People didn't try to talk to you if they thought you were listening to something. Not that anyone tried anymore. Her locker was at the end of the hallway, far from the popular kids who gathered near the main entrance. She preferred it that way. Less chance of accidentally making eye contact with someone. Less chance of being noticed at all. She would open her locker, grab her books, and disappear into the crowd of students rushing to first period. In class, Lily always chose the same seat, back row corner spot right next to the window. Teachers had stopped calling on her after the first few weeks of freshman year. She never raised her hand. When they did call on her, she would just stare at her desk until they moved on to someone else. Eventually, they learned. It was easier to pretend she wasn't there. Her classmates didn't understand her, and honestly, they didn't try to. Some thought she was stuck up. Others thought she was weird. A few assumed she just didn't speak English well, even though she'd lived in this town her whole life. The truth was so much more complicated than any of them could imagine. Lunchtime was the hardest part of Lily's day. The cafeteria was loud and chaotic, full of friends laughing and sharing inside jokes. Groups of students claimed their tables like territories, the same seats every single day. Lily used to sit at the edge of one of these groups during freshman year, before everything changed. Now she spent lunch period in the library. The school librarian, Mrs. Chen, never asked questions. She would just nod at Lily when she came in, a small acknowledgement that someone saw her. Lily would find a spot in the back corner, behind the reference books that nobody used anymore, and eat her sandwich in silence. Sometimes she brought a book. Sometimes she just stared out the window. The library became her safe place. It was the only spot in the entire school where silence was normal, where not talking was expected. She didn't have to make excuses or feel like something was wrong with her. In the library, quiet was the rule, not the exception. After school, Lily would rush to catch the bus, always sitting in the front row where the driver could see her. She'd learned that sitting up front meant the rowdy kids stayed in the back, and nobody bothered her. The 20-minute ride home was just another stretch of time to get through, another moment to stay invisible. At home, things weren't much different. Her parents had given up trying to get her to talk about school. They'd taken her to therapists, counselors, even a doctor who specialized in selective mutism. But Lily wasn't sick. She wasn't traumatized in the way they thought. She had just made a choice, and she was sticking to it. Her younger brother Tommy was the only one who still tried to reach her. He would knock on her bedroom door and tell her about his day, not expecting responses but hoping for them anyway. Sometimes Lily almost broke, almost opened her mouth to tell him she was okay, that she was still in there somewhere. But the words never came. People don't realize how easy it is to disappear in plain sight. In a school of 1,500 students, one silent girl doesn't make much of a difference. Teachers had their lesson plans to follow. Students had their own dramas to worry about. Everyone was too busy with their own lives to wonder about the girl who never spoke. But Lily wasn't always invisible. 4 years ago, she was different. She had friends. She laughed in the hallways. She raised her hand in class. She was on the debate team of all things. The girl who argued passionately about current events and social issues. The girl who believed words had power. That was before Rachel. Before everything fell apart. Rachel had been Lily's best friend since elementary school. They did everything together. Sleepovers every Friday. Matching bracelets, shared secrets written in notebooks they passed between classes. They had plans to go to the same college, be roommates, stay best friends forever. But high school changed things. Rachel started getting attention from the popular crowd and not the good kind. It started small. Whispers in the hallway. Looks that lasted too long. Someone started a rumor and it spread like wildfire. Soon, Rachel couldn't walk down the hall without hearing laughter behind her. Lily watched it happen. Every single day, she saw her best friend slowly breaking apart. Rachel would come to school with red eyes, pretending she'd been up late studying. Her smile became forced. Her laugh became hollow. And Lily said nothing. She told herself she was being smart. Getting involved would just make her a target too. She convinced herself that Rachel was strong enough to handle it, that it would blow over eventually, that high school drama always did. She made excuses for her silence, for her cowardice, but it didn't blow over. It got worse. The rumors became meaner. The laughter became louder. Someone created a fake social media account in Rachel's name, posting things that weren't true. Rachel begged the school to do something, but they said they couldn't control what happened online. Lily knew who was behind it. She'd heard them planning it in the bathroom between classes. She could have said something. She could have been a witness. She could have stood up for her best friend. But fear kept her frozen. Then one Monday morning, Rachel wasn't at school. Or Tuesday. Or Wednesday. By Friday, the announcement came. Rachel had transferred to a private school across town. She was gone, and she hadn't even said goodbye to Lily. That's when Lily stopped talking. The guilt hit her like a physical weight, pressing down on her chest until she couldn't breathe. She had betrayed her best friend through silence. She had watched Rachel suffer and done nothing. What right did she have to use her voice now? So she didn't. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. The girl who loved to debate, who believed in the power of words, chose silence as her punishment. 4 years of invisible existence. 4 years of watching life happen around her without participating. 4 years of believing she didn't deserve to be heard. It was late April when Principal Rodriguez made the announcement during morning assembly. Lily was sitting in her usual spot, last row of the bleachers, as far from everyone else as possible. She wasn't really listening. She never did during these assemblies. They were just another hour to get through, another block of time to stay invisible. But then she heard something that made her look up. Mental Health Awareness Week, Principal Rodriguez was saying, his voice echoing through the gymnasium. We're doing something different this year. Instead of bringing in outside speakers, we want to hear from you, from our own students. Lily watched as he explained the new initiative. Students would have the opportunity to share their personal stories during a special assembly. Stories about struggles, challenges, and how they overcame them. Stories about mental health, bullying, anxiety, depression. Real stories from real students. Around her, students were whispering to each other. Some seemed interested. Others were already back on their phones, not paying attention. Lily felt something strange stirring in her chest. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. It took her a moment to recognize what it was. It was the tiniest spark of possibility. After the assembly, there was a sign-up sheet posted outside the counselor's office. Lily walked past it 3 times that day. Each time she slowed down, looking at the blank lines waiting for names. Each time she kept walking. What would she even say? She'd spent 4 years not talking. The irony of suddenly standing in front of the entire school wasn't lost on her. Besides, nobody wanted to hear from the weird, quiet girl. They'd probably laugh. Or worse, they'd pity her. But that night lying in bed, Lily couldn't stop thinking about it. She thought about Rachel, wondered where she was now, if she was happy at her new school. She thought about all the things she wished she'd said 4 years ago. All the time she could have spoken up but didn't. The next morning, Lily did something she hadn't done in years. She went to school early. The hallways were nearly empty, just a few teachers setting up their classrooms and the janitor mopping the floors. Her footsteps echoed as she walked to the counselor's office. The sign-up sheet was still there. 5 names had been added since yesterday. Lily recognized some of them. Danny Park, the star quarterback. Jessica Williams, the student body president. Kids who were already confident, already comfortable speaking in front of crowds. Lily's hand was shaking as she picked up the pen. For a moment, she just stood there, pen hovering over the paper. This was crazy. This was the opposite of everything she'd been doing for 4 years. This was stepping directly into the spotlight she'd been avoiding. But maybe that was exactly why she needed to do it. She wrote her name. Lily Martinez. Her handwriting looked small and uncertain compared to the bold signatures above it, but it was there. Real. Permanent. Lily, she jumped, nearly dropping the pen. Mrs. Patterson, her English teacher, was standing in the hallway, a coffee mug in one hand and a surprised expression on her face. "I didn't expect to see you here," Mrs. Patterson said, then noticed the sign-up sheet. Her eyes went wide. "Did you just sign up for the assembly?" Lily nodded. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought Mrs. Patterson might be able to hear it. Mrs. Patterson set down her coffee and walked closer. She was one of the few teachers who hadn't completely given up on Lily. Every few months she would leave little notes on Lily's assignments. Good analysis or interesting perspective. Small acknowledgments that Lily's silence didn't mean she had nothing to say. "Lily, this is wonderful," Mrs. Patterson said gently. "But I have to ask, are you sure? This is going to be in front of the whole school. That's a lot of people." Lily pulled out her phone and typed a message, showing it to Mrs. Patterson. "I need to do this." Mrs. Patterson read it and smiled. "Okay. If you need any help preparing, my door's always open. We can practice work on what you want to say." "Whatever you need." Lily nodded again, managing a small smile. It felt strange on her face, like a muscle she'd forgotten how to use. The news spread faster than Lily expected. By lunchtime, people were talking about it. The silent girl had signed up to speak at the assembly. Students who hadn't looked at her in years were suddenly staring, whispering to their friends. Some seemed curious. Others seemed skeptical. In her corner of the library, Lily overheard two girls talking at a nearby table. "Did you hear about Lily Martinez? She signed up for the mental health thing." "Wait, who?" "You know, the quiet girl. Super weird. Never talks to anyone." "Oh, her? That's actually kind of sad. Like, what's she even going to say?" Lily felt her face burn. This was exactly what she'd been afraid of. But she didn't unsign her name. She didn't back out. Instead, she opened her notebook and started writing. The words came slowly at first, then faster. 4 years of silence meant 4 years of thoughts that had nowhere to go except onto paper. She wrote about Rachel, about the guilt, about watching someone suffer and doing nothing. She wrote about the day she decided to stop talking, and all the days after when that decision became a prison. Over the next 2 weeks, Lily filled an entire notebook. She wrote during lunch, during free periods, late at night when she couldn't sleep. She wrote versions of her speech, crossing out sentences, starting over, trying to find the right words to explain 4 years of silence. Mrs. Patterson met with her 3 times to help her practice. At first, Lily could only whisper. Her voice came out rough and uncertain, like an instrument that hadn't been played in years. But slowly it got stronger. By the second practice session, she could speak at a normal volume. By the third, she could almost look Mrs. Patterson in the eye while talking. "You're doing great," Mrs. Patterson encouraged her. "Your story matters, Lily. People need to hear this." But Lily wasn't so sure. As the assembly date got closer, her doubts grew louder. What if she froze on stage? What if no one cared? What if sharing her story changed nothing? Her brother Tommy caught her practicing in her room one night. He stood in the doorway, mouth open in shock, as Lily spoke to her reflection in the mirror. "You're talking," he said, like he couldn't quite believe it. Lily turned to face him. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then she said, "Yeah, I'm trying." Tommy's eyes filled with tears. "I missed your voice," he said quietly. Those 4 words almost broke her resolve. She'd been so focused on her own guilt and shame that she hadn't thought about what her silence had done to the people who loved her. Her parents, her brother, even teachers like Mrs. Patterson who never stopped believing she had something worth saying. The night before the assembly, Lily couldn't eat dinner. Her stomach was in knots. Her parents kept asking if she was okay, if she wanted to back out, if this was too much pressure. But Lily shook her head. She'd come too far to turn back now. She lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, her speech memorized but her confidence shaking. Tomorrow she would stand in front of 1,500 students and tell them the truth. Tomorrow she would use the voice she'd buried for 4 years. Tomorrow she would stop being invisible. The question was whether anyone would actually listen. Morning came too fast. Lily got dressed in clothes she'd picked out a week ago, simple and comfortable. Nothing flashy. She wasn't trying to make a fashion statement. She just needed to be able to breathe. On the bus, she clutched her note cards even though she didn't need them anymore. The words were burned into her memory, but having them in her hands made her feel less alone. At school, the day crawled by. Each class felt like it lasted forever. Teachers tried to act normal, but Lily could feel them watching her, wondering if she would actually go through with it. Students stared more openly now. Everyone knew. The weird quiet girl was going to talk. Finally, 6th period arrived. Assembly time. The entire school filed into the gymnasium, filling the bleachers with noise and energy. Lily sat backstage with the other speakers, her heart racing so fast she felt dizzy. Principal Rodriguez went first. introducing the initiative and explaining why mental health awareness mattered. Then the student speakers began. Danny Park talked about his anxiety and pressure to perform. Jessica Williams discussed her perfectionism and fear of failure. Each story was brave and honest, and the audience listened respectfully. Then Principal Rodriguez called her name. Our next speaker is Lily Martinez. This was it. The moment everything changed. Lily stood on shaking legs and walked toward the stage, toward the microphone, toward the end of her silence. The gymnasium had never felt so big. As Lily walked across the stage, every step echoed in her ears, mixing with the confused murmurs rippling through the crowd. She could feel 1,500 pairs of eyes on her, could hear the whispers starting. That's her? The quiet girl? This is going to be awkward. Her hands were sweating so badly that her note cards almost slipped from her grip. The microphone stood in the center of the stage like a challenge waiting for her. Behind her, Principal Rodriguez gave her an encouraging nod. To her left, Mrs. Patterson sat with the other teachers, hands clasped together like she was praying. Lily reached the microphone and stopped. The whispers died down as students waited to see what would happen. Some looked curious. Others looked uncomfortable, like they felt bad for her already. A group of boys in the back row were smirking, probably expecting her to run off stage. She gripped the sides of the podium and looked out at the sea of faces. Somewhere in that crowd was the person who had started the rumors about Rachel. Somewhere out there were all the people who had laughed, who had spread the lies, who had made her best friend's life miserable. And somewhere out there were the people like her. The ones who had watched it happen and said nothing. Lily opened her mouth. For a terrifying second, nothing came out. Her throat felt closed, her voice locked away like it had been for 4 years. The silence stretched on. Someone coughed. Someone else giggled nervously. Then she thought about Rachel, about Tommy saying he missed her voice, about Mrs. Patterson believing she had something worth saying, about the girl she used to be, the one on the debate team who wasn't afraid to speak up. 4 years ago, Lily said, and her voice came out clear and strong, filling the gymnasium. I stopped talking. The effect was immediate. The entire auditorium went completely silent. Not the uncomfortable silence from before, but the kind of silence that meant people were actually listening. I stopped talking because I was ashamed. I was ashamed of what I had done, or really what I hadn't done. See, 4 years ago I had a best friend. Her name was Rachel, and she was the kind of person who made everyone around her feel special. She remembered birthdays, she gave the best advice, she could make you laugh even when you wanted to cry. Lily's voice wavered slightly, but she kept going. Rachel and I had been friends since we were 7 years old. We shared everything. Secrets, dreams, fears. We promised we'd always have each other's backs, no matter what. And I broke that promise. She could see some students shifting in their seats, uncomfortable but engaged. A few were actually leaning forward, listening intently. When we started high school, someone decided Rachel was an easy target. I don't even remember what the first rumor was. Something stupid and made up. But it spread. And then there was another rumor. And another. Soon Rachel couldn't walk down the hallway without people laughing at her, without people saying cruel things just loud enough for her to hear. Lily's hands gripped the podium tighter. I watched it happen. Every single day I saw what they were doing to her. I saw her smile disappear. I saw her start eating lunch in bathroom stalls because she couldn't handle the cafeteria anymore. I saw her crying in the library, trying to hide her face behind textbooks. The gymnasium was so quiet now that Lily could hear the air conditioning humming overhead. Some students were looking down at their laps. Others had their eyes fixed on her, really seeing her for the first time in years. And you know what I did? Lily's voice grew stronger, almost angry. Not at them, but at herself. Nothing. I did absolutely nothing. Oh, I told myself I was being smart. I convinced myself that getting involved would just make me a target too. I thought if I stayed quiet, if I stayed invisible, if I just kept my head down, everything would be okay. She paused, letting the weight of those words sink in, but it wasn't okay. It got worse. Someone created a fake social media account pretending to be Rachel. They posted things that weren't true, horrible things. Rachel was getting messages from strangers, mean comments, threats. She begged the school to help, but they said there wasn't much they could do about things happening online. A few teachers in the crowd looked uncomfortable at that. Principal Rodriguez was staring at his hands. I knew who was behind it, Lily said, and several students suddenly sat up straighter. I'd heard them talking about it in the bathroom. I could have told someone. I could have been a witness. I could have helped prove what was happening to Rachel, but I was too scared, too worried about what would happen to me if I got involved. Her voice cracked on the next part. Rachel tried to tell me what was happening. She called me crying one night, saying she couldn't take it anymore, and I listened. I said I was sorry. I said it would get better, but I didn't do anything to make it better. I didn't stand up for her. I didn't speak up. I was her best friend, and when she needed me most, I chose my own safety over her well-being. Lily could see that some students were crying now. A girl in the third row had tears running down her face. Even some of the tough guys in the back looked uncomfortable, their smirks long gone. One day, Rachel stopped coming to school. Monday, she wasn't there. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday, the principal announced that she had transferred to another school. She left without saying goodbye to me, and I couldn't even blame her. I had already said goodbye to her through my silence. The pain in Lily's voice was raw and real. That's when I stopped talking, because I realized that I didn't deserve to have a voice. I had a voice and I wasted it. I could have used it to help my friend, to stand up against cruelty, to be brave. But instead I stayed silent, and my silence hurt someone I loved. So I decided to take my voice away completely. It seemed like the right punishment at the time. She laughed bitterly. For 4 years I haven't spoken in these hallways. For 4 years I've been invisible. I thought I was protecting myself, but really I was just hiding. Hiding from my guilt. Hiding from the person I had become. Hiding from the fact that I was a coward when it mattered most. Lily looked directly at the audience now, making eye contact with random students. I'm not telling you this story because I want you to feel sorry for me. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand something. Silence isn't neutral. When you see something wrong happening and you say nothing, you're not staying out of it. You're choosing a side. You're choosing the side of the person doing harm. Her words hung in the air like a challenge. Some students were nodding. Others looked like they were really thinking about what she was saying, maybe for the first time. I thought staying quiet would keep me safe, Lily continued. But you know what it actually did? It made me lose my best friend. It made me lose 4 years of my life. It made me lose myself. And the worst part? My silence didn't stop the bullying. It just made it easier for it to continue. She took a deep breath, preparing for the hardest part of her speech. A few weeks ago, I saw it happening again. There's a freshman girl new to the school. I don't know her name, but I've seen her in the hallways. And I've seen what some of you have been doing to her. The atmosphere in the gymnasium shifted. Students who had been comfortable moments ago now looked nervous, wondering if she was talking about them. I've seen her books get knocked out of her hands. I've seen people trip her in the hallway and then laugh when she falls. I've seen the way some of you whisper and point when she walks by. And I've seen that look in her eyes, that same defeated, desperate look that Rachel had. Lily's voice grew fierce, and I realized something. I could stay silent again. I could tell myself it's not my problem, that I should just keep my head down and graduate. Or I could do what I should have done 4 years ago. I could speak up. She paused for effect, then said, "So that's what I did. Last week I walked up to that girl in the hallway. I helped her pick up her books. I sat with her at lunch, and when she finally trusted me enough to tell me who was bothering her, I went straight to the counselor's office and reported everything I'd seen." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some students looked shocked. Others looked angry, but many looked thoughtful, like they were seeing the situation in a new way. The whispers started immediately. Lily could hear them even from the stage. Students turning to their friends, asking questions, making comments. She saw a group of junior boys looking at each other nervously, probably wondering if she was talking about them. She saw teachers exchanging glances, some nodding in approval, others looking concerned. But Lily wasn't done. She had spent 4 years silent, and now that she'd started talking, the words kept coming like water from a broken dam. "Speaking up that one time changed something in me," she continued, her voice steady despite the chaos she could feel brewing in the audience, "because I realized that using my voice once made it easier to use it again. It was like a muscle I'd forgotten I had, and the more I used it, the stronger it got." She looked around the gymnasium, trying to make eye contact with as many students as possible. After I reported what I saw, the counselor called that girl into her office. They talked. They made a plan. And you know what happened? The harassment stopped. Not completely, not forever, but it got better, because someone finally stood up and said, "This isn't okay." A girl in the front row was nodding, tears streaming down her face. Lily wondered if she had her own story, her own Rachel that she'd failed to help. "But here's what really got me," Lily said, her voice growing more passionate. "It was so easy. Speaking up took less than 5 minutes. Walking into that counselor's office, telling them what I'd seen, giving them the names of the students involved. 5 minutes. That's all it took to possibly change someone's entire high school experience." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I wasted 4 years being silent because I was afraid of what might happen if I spoke up. 4 years of isolation and guilt, all because I thought staying quiet would protect me. But protecting myself came at the cost of protecting others, and that's not a trade I'm willing to make anymore." Lily's eyes scanned the crowd again, and this time she spoke directly to the students who needed to hear this most. "If you're sitting here today thinking about someone you should have helped but didn't, I get it. I've been there. The guilt is real and it's heavy and it doesn't go away just because time passes. But you have a choice right now, in this moment. You can keep carrying that guilt, or you can decide to do better going forward." Some students were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Good, Lily thought. Comfort was what allowed cruelty to continue. Discomfort meant people were actually thinking. And if you're the person doing the hurting, Lily said, her voice firm but not mean, "I want you to know something. I don't hate you. I'm not trying to call you out or ruin your life, but I need you to understand that your actions have real consequences. The words you say, the rumors you spread, the laughter you share at someone else's expense, it all matters. It all adds up. And someday, you're going to look back and either feel proud of how you treated people, or you're going to feel the kind of regret that keeps you up at night." The gymnasium was absolutely silent now. Even the teachers seemed frozen, hanging on every word. "Rachel transferred schools 4 years ago," Lily said quietly, "and I haven't spoken to her since. I tried to reach out a few times, sent messages that she never answered. I don't blame her. I failed her when she needed me most. I can't take that back. I can't undo the damage my silence caused." Her voice got stronger again. "But I can make sure it doesn't happen again. I can make sure that the next time I see someone being hurt, I don't look away. I don't make excuses. I don't prioritize my own comfort over someone else's safety. And that's exactly what I'm going to do." Lily pulled out her phone, something she'd planned with Mrs. Patterson beforehand. "Before I came up here today, I created something. It's a student group called Voices United. It's for anyone who wants to make this school a better place, who wants to stand up against bullying and harassment, who's tired of pretending not to see what's happening around us." She showed the screen to the audience, though they couldn't really see it from where they were sitting. "There's a sign-up sheet outside the counselor's office. There's also an anonymous reporting form online where you can tell us about bullying you've witnessed or experienced. We're going to meet every week to talk about how we can support each other and create real change in this school." Some students were already pulling out their phones, probably looking up the group. Others still looked skeptical. Change was scary, even good change. "I know some of you are thinking this is pointless," Lily said, reading the room. "You're thinking that one assembly, one student group, one quiet girl suddenly talking isn't going to change anything. And you know what? You might be right. This might not change the whole school. It might not end bullying completely. But if it helps one person, if it gives one student the courage to speak up, if it stops one Rachel from having to transfer schools to escape cruelty, then it's worth it." She paused, gathering herself for the final part of her speech. This was the part that scared her most because it was the most honest. "I'm not standing up here as someone who has it all figured out. I'm still learning how to use my voice again. I'm still working through 4 years of guilt and regret. I'm still scared of being judged, of being rejected, of becoming a target myself, but I'm done letting fear control my life. I'm done being a bystander." Lily's voice cracked with emotion. "To the girl I've been sitting with at lunch, if you're hearing this, I want you to know that you matter. Your presence at this school matters, and you deserve to walk these hallways without fear. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I'm sorry so many people looked the other way. But I'm here now and I'm not going anywhere." Tears were running down her face now, but she didn't wipe them away. Let them see her cry. Let them see that being brave didn't mean not being scared. "To Rachel, wherever you are, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I failed you and I've spent 4 years punishing myself for it. I can't change the past, but I can honor your experience by making sure other students don't have to go through what you did. I can use my voice, the one I threw away, to speak up for people who feel like no one's listening. I hope someday you can forgive me, but I understand if you can't. I'm not sure I've forgiven myself yet." The gymnasium was completely silent except for the sound of people crying. Even some of the teachers were wiping their eyes. Principal Rodriguez had his hand over his mouth, looking stunned. "And to everyone else," Lily said, her voice strong despite the tears, "I'm asking you to think about the choice you make every single day. The choice to speak up or stay silent. The choice to stand with someone who's being hurt or to look the other way. The choice to be part of the solution or part of the problem." She gripped the podium one last time, pouring everything she had left into these final words. "Silence isn't safety. Silence is surrender, and I've surrendered enough. I've surrendered my voice, my friendships, my high school experience. I've surrendered 4 years to guilt and shame and fear, but I'm taking it all back, starting right now." Lily looked out at the sea of faces one more time. "I know some of you have your own Rachels, your own people you wish you'd helped, your own regrets that keep you up at night. I'm telling you that it's not too late. You can't change the past, but you can change what you do next. You can choose courage over comfort. You can choose to speak up instead of staying silent." She took a deep breath. "My name is Lily Martinez. For 4 years, I was the invisible girl, the silent girl, the girl no one noticed. But I'm done being invisible. I'm done being silent. And I hope that by sharing my story, by admitting my failures and my regrets, I can help at least one of you find your own voice." One final pause. Then Lily said the words she'd been practicing for weeks. "Thank you for listening." She stepped back from the microphone, her entire body shaking. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence was deafening. Lily felt panic rising in her chest. Had she made a huge mistake? Had she just humiliated herself in front of the entire school? Then someone started clapping. Just one person at first, slow and steady. Lily looked for the source and saw Mrs. Patterson standing up, applauding with tears running down her face. Another person joined in. Then another. Within seconds, the entire gymnasium erupted into applause. Students were standing up, clapping, some of them crying, some of them cheering. The sound was overwhelming, washing over Lily like a wave. Lily stood frozen on the stage as the applause crashed over her. Students were on their feet, clapping so hard their hands must have hurt. She saw faces she'd never noticed before. People who were actually looking at her, really seeing her for the first time. Some were smiling. Many were crying. A few looked uncomfortable, maybe feeling called out by her words, but even they were clapping. Principal Rodriguez came up beside her and put a hand on her shoulder, his own eyes red. He leaned toward the microphone and said, "Let's give Lily another round of applause for her courage." The cheering got even louder. Lily felt her legs wobbling, and she wasn't sure if it was from fear or relief or the sheer exhaustion of finally letting go of 4 years of silence. Mrs. Patterson was making her way toward the stage, and when she reached Lily, she pulled her into a tight hug. "You did it," Mrs. Patterson whispered. "I'm so proud of you." Lily couldn't speak. She'd used up all her words on that stage, and now her body was catching up with everything she'd just done. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Her breath was coming in short gasps. But underneath all of that, she felt something she hadn't felt in 4 years. She felt light. The assembly ended shortly after, but students didn't rush out like they usually did. They lingered, talking to each other in hushed voices. Some were arguing. Some were comforting friends who were crying. Some were just standing there, processing what they'd heard. As Lily walked off the stage and through the side door, she expected to slip back into invisibility. That's what she'd been doing for 4 years, after all. But instead, people started approaching her. The first was a sophomore girl she'd never spoken to. "Thank you," the girl said simply, tears still wet on her cheeks. "I needed to hear that." Then a junior boy stopped her in the hallway. "My little sister got bullied out of her middle school last year. I wish someone had stood up for her the way you're standing up now." More students came. Some shared their own stories. Others just wanted to say they were proud of her. A few asked about Voices United, wanting to know how they could help. Within an hour, the sign-up sheet outside the counselor's office had 30 names on it, but not everyone was supportive. Lily was walking to her locker when she heard harsh whispers behind her. "She's so dramatic, like it was 4 years ago. Get over it. She probably just wanted attention. Suddenly she's this big hero? I bet half of that story was made up." Lily felt the old instinct to shrink, to disappear, to let the words wash over her without responding. But then she remembered what she'd said on stage. Silence isn't safety. Silence is surrender. She turned around and looked at the three girls who'd been talking. They froze, clearly not expecting her to confront them. "You're entitled to your opinion," Lily said calmly. "But I told the truth up there. Every word of it. And if my story made you uncomfortable, maybe you should ask yourself why." She didn't wait for a response. She just turned back around and kept walking. Her heart was pounding, but she felt stronger than she had in years. The real test came at lunch. For 4 years, Lily had hidden in the library. But today, she walked into the cafeteria with her lunch tray, looking for a specific person. She found her sitting alone at a table in the corner, head down, eating quickly like she wanted to finish and leave as fast as possible. The freshman girl. The one Lily had been sitting with for the past few weeks. The one whose situation had finally pushed Lily to speak up. "Hey, Olivia," Lily said, sitting down across from her. Olivia looked up, her eyes wide. "That was you? At the assembly?" "You were talking about me," Lily nodded. "I hope that's okay." "I didn't use your name, like, are you kidding?" Olivia's voice cracked. "You have no idea what that meant to me. To know that someone saw what was happening, that someone cared enough to actually do something." Before Lily could respond, 2 more people approached their table, then 3 more, then 5. Soon their table was full of students. Some Lily recognized and some she didn't. They were all talking, sharing stories, asking questions about Voices United. For the first time in 4 years, Lily ate lunch in the cafeteria, and she wasn't alone. That afternoon, as the school day ended, Lily found an envelope taped to her locker. Inside was a handwritten note on lined paper. "Lily, you don't know me, but I'm a junior, and I've been dealing with bullying since freshman year. I never told anyone because I was embarrassed. But after hearing you speak today, I reported it to the counselor. Thank you for giving me the courage to speak up. You saved me." The note wasn't signed. Lily folded it carefully and put it in her backpack. It was the first of many she would receive over the coming weeks. The next few days were overwhelming. Everywhere Lily went, people wanted to talk to her. Some wanted advice. Some wanted to share their own experiences. Some just wanted to say thank you. It was exhausting, but it was also healing in a way Lily hadn't expected. The first official Voices United meeting happened the following week. They'd reserved a classroom after school, expecting maybe 20 people. 75 showed up. Students were sitting on desks, standing against walls, crowding in the doorway. Lily stood at the front of the room, feeling that familiar nervousness but pushing through it. "Thank you all for coming," she said. "I honestly didn't expect this many people. We're here because of you," someone called out. "Because you were brave enough to speak up." Lily shook her head. "I'm not brave. I'm just done being silent, and I think a lot of you feel the same way." They spent the next hour talking about what they wanted Voices United to be. A support system for students being bullied. A group that would stand up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. A safe space where anyone could share their experiences without judgment. They created an anonymous reporting system, planned awareness campaigns, and organized training sessions on how to intervene when you witnessed bullying. Mrs. Patterson volunteered to be their faculty advisor. Principal Rodriguez pledged the school's support and promised to take reports more seriously. Things were actually starting to change. But the biggest change came 2 weeks later, on a random Tuesday afternoon. Lily was at her locker after school when she got a notification on her phone. A message request on social media from someone she hadn't heard from in 4 years. Lily's hand started shaking as she opened the message. "Hi, Lily. My mom showed me a video of your assembly speech. Someone posted it online and it's been going around. I don't really know what to say. I've been angry at you for 4 years. Angry that you didn't stand up for me when I needed you. Angry that you chose safety over our friendship. But hearing you speak, hearing how much you've been hurting too, I realize that we both lost something 4 years ago. I'm not saying everything is okay or that we can just go back to being best friends, but I want you to know that I forgive you, and I'm proud of you for finally finding your voice. You're helping people the way I wish someone had helped me. That means something." Lily read the message 3 times, tears blurring her vision. It wasn't a complete reconciliation. Rachel wasn't saying they could be friends again, but she was saying she forgave her, and that was more than Lily had ever hoped for. She typed out a response, deleting and rewriting it several times before finally sending, "Thank you For forgiving me even though I don't deserve it. For giving me the chance to say I'm sorry. I can't take back what I did or didn't do, but I promise I'm spending every day trying to be better. I hope you're doing well at your new school. You deserve so much better than what happened here. Rachel's response came a few minutes later. I am doing better. I have good friends here, teachers who actually listen. A fresh start. Maybe someday we can talk more. Not now, but someday. Keep doing what you're doing, Lily. Keep using your voice. It matters. Lily closed her phone and leaned against her locker, letting the tears come. They weren't just tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of relief, of hope, of finally being able to breathe after holding her breath for 4 years. The rest of senior year passed in a blur. Voices United grew to over 100 members. They organized assemblies, created support groups, and even got the school to implement a new anti-bullying policy with actual consequences. Reports of bullying didn't disappear completely, but they decreased significantly. More importantly, students were reporting incidents instead of suffering in silence. Lily's transformation didn't go unnoticed. Teachers who had written her off as the quiet girl started seeing her potential. She joined the debate team again, her first time in 4 years, and discovered that her voice was even stronger than she remembered. Colleges that had seemed impossible started feeling within reach. But the most important changes weren't the big visible ones. They were the small moments. The freshman girl, Olivia, eating lunch with friends and actually laughing. The anonymous notes that kept appearing in Lily's locker from students who said she'd given them courage. The sophomore who stood up to bullies in the hallway and told them it wasn't cool. The junior who reported his own friends for harassing someone online. Lily realized that she hadn't just found her voice. She'd helped other people find theirs too. Graduation day arrived faster than Lily expected. As she sat in her cap and gown, waiting for her name to be called, she thought about the 4 years that had brought her here. The pain, the guilt, the silence, but also the growth, the healing, the courage to change. When Principal Rodriguez called Lily Martinez, the applause that erupted was different from the polite clapping that had accompanied most names. It was loud and enthusiastic, students and teachers alike celebrating not just her graduation but her journey. As Lily walked across the stage to accept her diploma, she looked out at the crowd and smiled. A real smile, wide and genuine. She caught Mrs. Patterson's eye and saw her teacher wiping away tears. She saw Olivia cheering in the audience, surrounded by the group of friends she'd made. She saw members of Voices United holding up signs that said, "Thank you, Lily," and "Speak up, stand out." And in that moment, Lily understood something she'd been too young to understand 4 years ago. One person speaking up couldn't change everything, but it could change something. And sometimes changing something was enough to start a revolution. After the ceremony, as Lily posed for photos with her family, her phone buzzed. Another message from Rachel. "Congratulations, graduate. I saw photos online. You look happy. Really happy. I'm glad you found yourself again." Lily smiled and typed back, "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you, even though you weren't here. Everything I've done this year, every time I've spoken up, I've done it thinking about you. Thinking about what I should have done differently. You made me want to be better." "You are better," Rachel replied. "You always had it in you. You just needed to remember." As Lily drove home that evening, windows down, music playing, she thought about the girl she used to be. The one who believed words had power. The one who wasn't afraid to speak up. She'd lost that girl for 4 years, buried her under guilt and shame and fear, but she'd found her again. And this time she was never letting her go. 4 years of silence had taught Lily the most important lesson of her life. Your voice matters. Not just when it's easy to use it. Not just when speaking up benefits you, but especially when it's hard. Especially when staying silent would be easier. Especially when using your voice might cost you something. Because staying silent costs more. It cost Lily a friendship, 4 years of her life, and nearly cost her herself. But speaking up, finally finding the courage to use her voice again, had given her something far more valuable. It had given her the chance to make a real difference, and that was worth everything.